I am your host, FatDag, and you're listening to WhysAdvice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at FatDag.com and follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at WhysAdvice. Send in your comments, your questions, your celebrations, and I'll include them as part of the show. But before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. Hey, I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. Well, here we are, episode 91 of WhysAdvice, and it's always an honor to hang out with you on Facebook. For those of you who are listening to the podcast on the WhysAdvice app, thank you for downloading the app. Thank you for being here. But I got to let you know that the Facebook crowd that kind of hangs out, I record the show live every evening. I do it through Facebook Live, and then I take the video and I upload it to YouTube so you can catch the replay on YouTube for those of you who aren't on Facebook. The whole reason I put it on YouTube, because I know there's a whole handful of you out there that don't participate in Facebook, and I get that. So I moved the video over to YouTube as well. But if you are in the Facebook crowd, before the show, we hang out just for 10 minutes or so, just before the show, just to kind of get in, get everyone acquainted, say hi. But what's really cool is that community is building. And what's really fun is when I open the show and I see people commenting back and forth and saying hi to each other. I really get a chance to interact. And then I kind of let them know what the show is going to be about. We check in from all over the country, and, it's really fun to see, California checking in, North Dakota checking in, Utah checked in tonight. California checks in quite often because, of course, this show is very late in the evening when it records live. So a lot of folks from California, but it's so cool. And, it is just an honor to be out here with you. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. We're here 91 episodes in the books. We're really close to 500,000 downloads, which completely blows my mind. Today, we set another record for all-time downloads in a single day, and it was about 8,900 downloads in a day, which it just lets me know all of this confirms to me that you're paying attention, you're focused, you're in the game, you're in it to win it. The only reason you would download this episode, the only reason you would download this podcast, the only reason you would be live on Facebook is because you care enough about you to use whatever tool is out there to get your journey done. I believe you can do this. I know you can do this. The fact that you're tuning in reminds me every day that you know you can do this. So here we are celebrating some really big numbers, and it's all because you want this more than anything else that you've ever wanted. You're using every tool to get there, and those numbers reaffirm to me one thing. They reaffirm to me that we are changing the world and getting it done. So I want to say my hat's off to you. Thank you so much for doing that. And we're going to open the show up, and Lisa writes in and says, "Hi, Mike. I'm very excited to be writing to you to share that I made goal. Now I can officially post to the hashtag goal call. While I was not there to be one of your wingmen early on in your weight loss journey, I've been a steadfast listener of your podcast since inception. I wanted to share my journey with you since you stated sometimes it helped others who listen. I've been at least 10 to 15 pounds overweight for 90% of my adult life. Here are my statistics. I'm 55 years old. I play tennis and golf. I do a spin class. My Connect name is 125 Making It. Starting weight, 180 pounds. Goal weight, 151. Current weight, 150.0. Height, 5'7". Yes, you read that right. I made goal. My story, often I would hear, well, you don't need to lose that much, or you look great, from friends and family, even though I was busting out of my size 12 pants, and I have a few size 14s in my closet. For the last 30 years, I've used food as a crutch for emotional stress, boredom, or my own insecurities. I would yo-yo 10 to 15 pounds consistently year over year. I would binge eat an entire bag of Tostitos or a large bag of M&M almonds. Often, I would make a trip just to CVS to buy the bag of M&M almonds, convincing myself that they had the best price. Another trick I would play on myself is I would pay cash so I didn't have to see the Visa receipt. I'd eat them in the car, and I'd throw away at least 1/3 of the bag, thinking, okay, the binge is done. Approximately 10 years ago, I joined an Overeaters Anonymous group, and I was criticized because I was not 100 pounds overweight. I've been on more crash diets over these 30 years, including grapefruit, cabbage, Nutrisystem, detox shakes, Dr. Oz's newest weight loss pills, and the list goes on and on. I have even been hypnotized. Okay, so what put me over the edge to find Weight Watchers? Well, I was finally not able to binge eat and then crash diet my extra weight off, so I became depressed about it, and I needed a real solution. Since my oldest went off to college 4 years ago, empty nest, and being postmenopausal, yes, I know you don't have to deal with this, but it's real for women and fat retention, I have used food as a more extreme crutch, and the extra 15 pounds became 30. Crash diets didn't work anymore, and I would get depressed. I would eat an entire bag of chips after I'd just eaten dinner. It was a vicious cycle of feeling satiated by the carbs, bad sleep, and then waking up disgusted with my weight, and then the deep desire to feel that carb feeling again. Hence, the cycle repeated. Weight Watchers has taught me a better way to choose foods that are real-life foods. Connect has taught me that no matter how much I weigh, no matter how much weight someone has to lose, we all have extremely similar reasons why we eat too much. I have connected since February 2nd, my first day of Weight Watchers. I've gone from online to meetings in order to obtain lifetime for personal accountability. After losing the first 20 pounds, I found eating a good portion of my weeklies on the weekends. It allowed me to feel like a functioning member of my own social life, and I still lose weight. So yes, I'm a member of Eat My Weeklies Nation. I absolutely know what my trigger foods are, so you won't find me using my points for just a few chips or candy, all of which turn into a sugar high in my bloodstream, and I know I will just want more. I will never go back or find those 30 pounds again. I'm sharing this in hopes that others who may have only 20 to 30 pounds to lose know they are not alone. The struggle is real, but you can do this. Well, that's absolutely right. And I've said this, a couple times now. It doesn't matter how many pounds you want to lose. If you're 5 pounds overweight and that's making you miserable because you don't like what you look like, you don't like what you feel like, well, then you're 5 pounds overweight. And losing 5 pounds for someone, it's a smaller number than someone who has hundreds of pounds to lose. But the feeling is the same. The feeling is you don't like what you look like. The feeling is food is controlling you and food is controlling your behavior. And that's not where we want to be. I completely agree is that, not being able to binge diet and crash diet, when a lot of us early on and even when we're younger, we're so active that we're allowed to overeat because just naturally the body burns it off. As we get older, that slows down because our activity slows down. But between that and then crash dieting and overeating and then crashing, sure, it is a way to control your weight loss, but it's not something you can sustain for life. And it's exactly as you experienced. At some point, that catches up to you. At some point, 5 pounds becomes 10, 10 becomes 15, 15 becomes 20. Next thing you know, it slowly starts getting out of control. Now, a lot of us, as we start these weight loss journeys, we always look back to say, how did I get to this point? And I ask that question a lot of myself, is how did I get here? And I don't really remember the difference. I don't remember, going from 175 or so up to 260. I don't really remember that entire journey because every time I checked in my weight, it was just a pound or two higher than the last time. So it was no big deal. I'd get up and I'd say, I'm 5 pounds up. Yeah, that's no big deal. And then a couple of days later, oh yeah, I guess I'm just 5 pounds up. It was no big deal. Well, that 5 pounds continued to add up. And at some point I couldn't take it off without, some serious intervention and completely changing my life. So, the fact that you're eating your weeklies, I'm glad that you're doing that. That's one of the things that we see on Connect a lot of times is you have to figure out what works for you in your journey. You have to figure out how to use the weeklies into your plan. For many people, the weeklies are a complete way to continue to balance their social life and continue to eat healthy and properly. Now, we're going to talk about in a little bit coming up this episode, talking about the blue dots and how those play into it. But eating your weeklies is absolutely part of the program. So what you have to do is you got to figure out how many of them you can eat realistically. You really should be able to eat them all, but it really depends on how accurate you're tracking. If you're not tracking accurately and you're eating your weeklies, at some point you're going to be overeating. But if you're a stickler for tracking and you're weighing everything and you're measuring everything and you're tracking everything that you eat, by all means, the weeklies fit into the plan and they work there. Now, I completely agree with you that, you have to know what your trigger foods are. You have to know what puts you into a tailspin. And for many of us, foods that are higher in sugar, they do exactly like you said. They get into that bloodstream and it just makes you want more. What I've found is I'm really good at resisting the first bite. But man, once I open the doors, that second bite is so hard to resist. And the third bite's even harder. And then it just continues to go on from there. So you've got to figure out a way where you can continue to eat your weeklies, you can work the plan, but you can also understand the trigger foods and how to avoid them. So again, if you're 5 pounds overweight, or if you're 20 pounds overweight, if you're 100 pounds overweight, the feeling is the same. The reason you joined is not going to go away until you solve it. So fix that mentality, fix the issue of why did you join? Get to a point where you hop on the scale for the very last time in a weight loss mode. That's what we call goal. That's how you get it done. So thanks for your email. Carrie writes in, says, "Hey, FatDag, this morning I took a 6-mile walk, and while I walked, I listened to a few of your podcasts. I'm a fairly new listener, so I think I may have listened to podcasts 7 through 13 during my walk. Number 12 was fascinating. I so appreciate you sharing so many details of your story because it helped me to see there are other people who think like I do. Your story was very different from mine, but had elements that were oh so similar, including what goes on in our minds. Your story also helped me to see that I am in control of making this time different. I shouldn't stop it close enough, but rather push myself to continue to push until I reach my true goal. Thanks for the inspiration. My home scale tells me I have lost over 40 pounds. Friday is my weigh-in day, so I'm hoping it shows up on the Weight Watcher scale then. That would put me just 7 pounds or less until goal. I am so close. I've been close before, 1.7 pounds close, and then I felt comfortable enough in my new skin that I just gave up. Not this time. As you said, I've changed my habits this time. One of them, running with a goal in mind. I've never really been a runner. I joined a running group in January, and I've since run 4 5Ks with better times each one. I've got one more 5K to run this summer, and then I'm going to run a half marathon in October. I know I can do this because I'm working towards this every single day, and I'm doing it in a way that is sustainable. I am so excited. I have a book suggestion for you since you say a lot about habits. You should read Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin, who also wrote The Happiness Project, a great read to help us all master the habits of our lives. Thanks again for your podcast. It truly motivated me this morning. I look forward to listening again. Carrie. Well, Carrie, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a listener. Great walk on a 6-mile walk. That's fantastic work. Catching up on 7 through 13 sounds kind of fun. And you're right, absolutely. Number 12. Number 12 was my why. It's why did I join Weight Watchers? Why did I get into doing this in the first time? It tells you my story. It gives you kind of the it was just one of those nights we sat on Facebook. I just kind of explained in detail how I arrived where I did, how I solved it, what my why was. So thank you for tuning into that. It's one of my favorite episodes. 54 complements that nicely. So if you haven't yet, tune into 54 next. Kind of 12 and 54 are the two that really kind of get you going. But a couple things you said, absolutely incredible. I can see the mind shift in you. I can see the fact that you're going to do well in this program because you understand pieces of the journey that what you say is include what goes on in your mind. That's where we control this journey. You are in complete control of making this time different. So when you're going to kind of push and push until you reach your goal, and I like the fact that you use the word true goal because that's the term that I like to use. You can hit a number on the scale. That's easy to do. But if you're not happy with how you look at that point, it's not what I consider a true goal. There is nothing like a true goal. There is nothing like hopping on the scale going, actually, I don't want to lose any weight. There's nothing like putting on a pair of clothes or a shirt and going, yeah, I look great. I don't need to change. There's nothing like that. That's what a true goal is. So continue to do that for sure. Now, great job on your 5Ks. That's incredible. You also tapped in for a half marathon. One of the cool things I think there is exactly what you said. You're now running for a purpose. You know, it's funny. I didn't realize this when I first started running as well. When I first started doing 5Ks, is they called them a race. It's a 5K race. It's a half marathon race because the events are timed. And for many of us, you know, certainly starting and finishing is a huge accomplishment. And I don't take that away from anybody. But there's a point where we really want to start racing against the clock. We either want to cross the finish line first or we want to cross the finish line faster than we did the time before. That's what makes those fun. And so they become a social event, and a lot of us have a lot of fun doing them, but there is a piece to it where you can start focusing on the time, and that's what you're starting to do, and that takes running to a whole new level. And just think, when's the last time you started doing that? It's an amazing accomplishment. So thank you for the book suggestion. I will add it to my website on FatDag.com. You click on book list. It's all the books that I've considered helped me along my journey one way or the other. I will pick up a copy of it just to read it. And once I get done, I will add it to the book list here so that we can share that as well. So check that out as well and see what else is out there that makes sense. So Carrie, thank you for your email. Out of Boston, Mass, Aarti writes in, says, hi, Mike. I wrote to you some time back while I was in a roller coaster of ups and downs with my weight loss journey. At that time, I was also training for an Avon breast cancer walk. Well, here's an update. I did it. I did the whole 39.3 miles over 2 days. I myself cannot believe that I walked the whole thing. Day 1 was 26.2 miles. It took around 9.5 hours. Day 2 was 13.1 miles, and it took around 5.5 hours. But it was amazing. The incredible community support and other walkers on the way pushing you to take one step at a time and go that extra mile was just amazing. In regards to my weight loss journey, I am still at the same place, but I did not gain and I did not quit. The walk also taught me something about myself that I actually do have the ability to achieve anything if I put my mind to it. So why not with my weight loss? Well, here also, I do have amazing support from the Weight Watcher family. I just need to focus and follow the plan. So here is my plan. Focus on the blue dot. Focus on attendance for activity and be mindful of what I'm eating. I will surely send you an update in a couple months. Thank you for your amazing support. Regards, Aarti out of, again, Boston, Mass. Well, Aarti, congratulations. This is it, right? So the fact that you recognize that what you were able to accomplish over the course of that day was all a mindset. Sure, there's some physical limitation that plays in by all means, but the fact that you said, you know what, the incredible support and got you to take one step at a time, it just allowed you to get it done. You were able to convince yourself, you don't even believe you did it, but you did it. Our mind becomes the limiter in a lot of things we do. Often there are things that we've never tested, we've never done, we've never been able to experience. So rather than believing we can, we assume that we can't. And the fact that you've now related this to your weight loss journey, it's exactly true. For the longest time, my mind limited my ability to get to goal. I've never been this weight in my entire life as an adult. It's a number I never ever knew existed. So rather than me believe that I could do it, I just kind of said, no, it's probably not possible. Whatever, you heard the quote, whatever the mind believes, the body achieves. It's whether you believe the good stuff or the bad stuff. If you continue to say, I can't, well, then you're right. Your body works really hard to convince you that you're true and that you can't. You now have an incredible gift here. Being able to walk 39.3 miles over the course of 2 days is absolutely amazing. And you did that through a lot of mind power and the support. And you absolutely have done the right thing by transitioning that into your weight loss journey. The fact that you did not gain, but more importantly, the fact that you have not quit on your journey is what's going to get you to goal. Now, you now have the ability to put anything you put your mind to, you have the ability to achieve. You just need to follow the plan. It's exactly what you said. So your plan includes some blue dots. Your plan includes attendance and being mindful of what you're eating. And I want to dig into those for a little bit because a lot of times I get questions on what is the blue dot. When you follow the Weight Watcher plan, you get a list of daily numbers, a daily target, a daily point allowance that I want you to hit. On top of that, you have a weekly point balance that you get to draw from as like an overdraft. The way the blue dot works is if you go open your journey tab and you say, hey, I want to follow the plan properly. Well, then between -3 of your daily number and +7 of your daily number is considered the healthy eating zone. If you eat within the healthy eating zone, which is again -3 up to +7 of your daily target, you can eat some of your weeklies, and the Weight Watcher app will color that day blue for the day. The more blue dots you get, the better off you're gonna do on the scale. So I want you to focus on the blue dots. Now you got to be mindful of the fact that you can't eat, +7 every day because at some point you'll run out of weeklies. You do need to still stay within your point allowance between your dailies and your weeklies. But let's focus on breaking those up and doing well to get them in. Now, that's the blue dot thing. Now, attendance, we talk about all the time, the attendance goal versus the performance goal. It doesn't do us any good to go out and, to do a weight loss plan do an activity plan where we work out so hard that we need to take a week off or 2 weeks off to recover. I want you simply just every day do something different, do something intentional that aids into the exercise so that you're building a healthy habit. That habit is what's going to carry you to goal. And lastly, being mindful of your food choices is the number one thing we can do to take control of our lives again. The way I always going to phrase that is if you choose it, and if you want it, and you've chosen it, and you've researched it, you looked it up, you know exactly how many points it is, you pre-tracked it, it fits into your plan using your dailies and your weeklies. If you make the mindful decision to have it, I don't care what it is, have it, track it, own it, move on. Where you become mindful is recognizing the fact that you specifically chose this. It did not choose you. So if you didn't plan for it, if you didn't look it up, and all of a sudden you're grabbing it out of a habit and you're not tracking it because you'll track it later, well, then you're not being mindful. You're giving into that food in that moment, and you're saying, and you're not able to resist it. So I want you to stay mindful. And again, if you choose it, enjoy it. If it chooses you, pause for a moment. Figure out if it works in. Figure out if that aligns with your current set of goals. It probably doesn't if it's choosing you. Take a moment, regroup, focus, look back, track it, and then be mindful and make the decision if you really want it or not. So congrats on your run, on your walk. That's an amazing accomplishment. 39.3 miles in 2 days. I'll be honest with you, it's not something I'm even looking to accomplish. So you beat me there. So great job and keep up the great work. Jessica writes in, says, "Hi, FatDag. My name is Jessica. My Weight Watcher username is Little Miss Rainbow. I rejoined Weight Watchers for the third or fourth time on April 29th of this year. I was feeling so miserable and uncomfortable in my own skin. I was also feeling disappointed because, last year I joined Weight Watchers online in January of 2016, and I had lost about 45 pounds by June of that year, but I got complacent and I allowed work stress to infiltrate my mind, and the pounds were gained back with an additional 4 pounds. I decided to recommit in April, and I weighed in at 279.9. I was an online member for 3 weeks when I signed up for the Weight Watcher Focus Workshop, and it was so great. It was truly insightful, and it felt like an extra benefit for this journey and life in general. I liked it so much that since then I've attended a second workshop, and I'm actually enrolled in a third. I decided to switch to meetings, and that was the missing piece for me. I love attending my meeting. I truly look forward to it. I love my leader, Josh, and the group is diverse, which is great. So far, I am down 25.1 pounds, and I'm feeling really good. I even got my Weight Watcher bling, and the height is a great talisman. I'm so glad that I recommitted to Weight Watchers, and I definitely feel the mind shift. I am so focused, determined, and motivated. I know that I have a long way to go, but I'm in. I'm doing it, and I know this works, and actually it works for me. Since I've discovered your podcast, I've had a few aha moments while listening. I truly love the podcast. Thank you, Jessica. Well, Jessica, you have one of the key ingredients to success. One of the absolute key ingredients to success is understanding your why. And in your scenario, saying, I was so miserable and uncomfortable in my own skin. Man, there's only one way to solve that, Jessica. When you get to goal, I assure you that feeling goes away. Absolutely goes away. You hop on the scale for the very last time in a weight loss mode. You suddenly become extremely comfortable in your own skin. You have the ability to get that done. Now, we know from experience, right? Third or fourth time, that's all of us are in that boat. Let me back up. A lot of us are in that boat where it takes us 3 or 4 times to figure it out. We understand that, a lot of times we get complacent or we get frustrated. One way or the other, we end up quitting. Your story is exactly like my story. Every time I quit, I ended up getting a new start date, and I actually ended up getting a new higher start weight. Looks like the same thing happened here. And just like you, I was absolutely uncomfortable in my own skin. I hated every bit of being overweight. So I went from miserable to being comfortable to miserable to being comfortable to being miserable again. That's what starting and stopping does, is you get really angry, you get really mad. Your why is so strong and it drives you to join. You start having some success, you get comfortable, you get complacent, and then suddenly you quit. So in my scenario, I'd quit, and as I started gaining the weight back, they were all numbers that I'd seen before on the scale, so they didn't scare me anymore. I'd lived them for a long time, and then all of a sudden I would get to a new high weight, and all of a sudden they would be numbers I hadn't seen before on the upper end of the scale, and that's what made me miserable. So I would join in, and I would come back in, I would lose the weight, I would start getting down, I would get complacent, I would get frustrated, and I'd slowly start gaining the weight back up. But again, I would see those numbers on the way back up that I saw on the way down, so the numbers no longer scared me, they no longer frightened me, and at some point, you became miserable again, and off I did to join again. So I finally said I have to break the cycle. For one time for all, I am not quitting. Every time I quit, I ended up rejoining. Every time I joined at a new higher weight because it just reinvoked that why for me to want to join. So for me, recommitting back to this was I am not going to quit again. Now, I'm glad to see that you love your leader. That's an important ingredient in this whole process. The fact that your group is diverse, that's another thing. Diversity is phenomenal. That's what makes this program work. No two people have the same experience. No two people follow the plan perfectly in the same way to get this done. So having diversity, not only of mind and race and gender and ethnicity, but diversity of thought is what really makes this program work. So I'm glad you found a meeting room. I'm glad you found a room that works. The fact that you said real confidently in your email, I know I'm doing it because I know it works and it works for me. Nothing could be more true. If we know it works, then why would we ever give up on it? We know we're going to struggle. We know we're going to have some challenges along the way. But you said it right here. You know the program works. And the program works for you. And that's what I say about people. Anytime someone is making goal, and so here you are down 25 pounds, you got your 25-pound charm, you've proven that the tools that were given to you, the tools that you're using, work. They work for you. You know how to use them. You know how to get through some good weekends. You know how to get through some bad weekends. You know how to persevere. You know the program works for you. I want you to keep with it, and let's celebrate when you get to goal. So thank you for your email. Hey, well, speaking of celebrating, what is it that you want to celebrate? Let's go ahead and share it on the air. Go to FatDag.com, click on Listen Now, send in your celebrations, your comments, your questions. I'll certainly work them in as part of the show because I want you to email in celebrations. I really want you to be proud of what you're doing, and I want to help you along your way to do whatever it is you're trying to get done. Well, that's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight and getting healthy has nothing to do with luck. You have to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goal and go after it. I wish you good focus.